Good evening. This is the news from NTA's Top Table, where we give you stories from different parts of the country and beyond, treated with an extra touch of fine detail. Tonight, safe landing. Federal Executive Council approves second runway for Abuja Airport. A bridge that means more than just infrastructure. We have special lenses on the second Niger Bridge. From Lagos, we have an update on the fire outbreak at Akwangwong Market. In politics, the All Progressives Congress screens aspirants for key positions in the party's national executive positions, just as a former vice president throws hat in the ring again for the nation's top job. It is a case of from one gavel to another, as Senate is to appeal the court ruling on the Electoral Act. And on solid minerals, Mines and Steel Development Ministry is leveraging on research to unearth the nation's wealth. And in sports, the Super Eagles talk tough ahead of Friday's Jollof Derby against the Black Stars of Ghana. We have these and more on our lineup tonight, so join us as the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Morbuba, and this is News Extra. I welcome you. You can follow this news broadcast live on our website, nta.ng/live, and on YouTube channel, NTA News Online. You can also visit our Twitter handle at NTA News Now, Facebook page, NTA Network News, and Instagram, NTA Network, for all the updates. The Federal Executive Council has approved over 92.1 billion naira for immediate construction of the second runway for the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika announced this at a media briefing after the council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports that Humanitarian Affairs Minister Sadia Umar Farouk also secured the approval of 14.2 billion naira for the training of NPAR beneficiaries.
The approval by the Federal Executive Council for the construction of the second runway for Abuja Airport is coming barely 24 hours after a presidential directive to the Minister of Finance to source special funding for the project. Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika said the construction work, which will be completed in 12 months, has been divided into 6 slots. The project comprises the provision of, amongst others, taxiways, fencing, drainage, water pumping station with reservoir, airfield lighting, communication and meteorological equipment, power station and firefighting vehicles.
This is a very significant project. The same way that federal government had sourced money for railway, sourced money for refineries, sourced money for education and hospital, in the same way and manner that they will source money and fund this very important project that will increase the efficiency of our airport and create natural linkage to our economies.
The Council also approved the engagement of the Industrial Training Fund, National Institute for Hospitality and Tourism, that of Transport Technology, as well as the Hydro Equipment Development Institute for the training of 50,000 N-Power non-graduate beneficiaries in different skills. 14.2 billion naira has been set aside for the program, expected to last 9 months, after which the trainees will be given starter packs for them to establish their businesses.
We are also going to get an exit strategy for them, collaborating with different government agencies that have such programs. For instance, the Federal Ministry of Sports and Youth, where they have the Youth Development Fund, in which they support specialized skills for these youths. We are also going to approach the private sector for those who want to go along that line. This is part of government's national social investment programs geared towards supporting our teeming unemployed population, especially the youth.
Meanwhile, the Federal Executive Council is seeking what it calls wholehearted embodiment of amendment to existing legislations that have significant impact on ease of doing business in Nigeria. This followed the approval of the new Business Facilitation Miscellaneous Provision Bill to make the nation's laws more efficient, transparent, and value-oriented so that Nigeria's economy can be enhanced.
We were on 2 occasions named as one of the 10 top most improved economies in the world over the last 3 years. It is equally worth mentioning that in February 2022, the National Bureau of Statistics announced that Nigerian economy grew by 3.4%, the strongest since 2014, and which accounted for increased productivity. The whole essence of the bill is to consolidate on these gains, consolidate on the reforms, and ensuring at the end of the day, our laws are dynamic in terms of accommodative of the international best practices for the purpose of attraction of more investments into the Nigerian state.
In the meantime, the Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has formally reacted to the recent court ruling directing his office to ensure that Section 84, subsection 12 of the new Electoral Act is deleted.
Deletion of Section 84, so Section 12 is a work in progress and is being considered as such.
The Office of the Attorney General and its agencies, the minister, however, said, are not unmindful of the possibility of an appeal in respect of the court judgment. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
As skillful political maneuvering continues ahead of the National Convention of the governing APC, President Muhammadu Buhari this Wednesday held a strategic meeting with the Progressive Governors Forum towards achieving a successful exercise. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu again reports.
The crucial meeting centered on what the ABC governors have been doing in preparation for the forthcoming March 26th National Convention of the governing party. Apart from the chairman of the forum and Kebbi State Governor Atiku Abubakar, other governors representing the various geopolitical zones of the country took turns to brief the president on efforts at generating consensus in respect of all the National Working Committee and zonal party positions. The governors say they are not only united, but committed to supporting any process that will lead to the emergence of new party leadership to hit the ground running without the need for election.
The governors are united. The governors are unanimous in support of Mr. President. The governors are unanimous in the support of the Caretaker Committee. We thank the Caretaker Committee for what they have been doing. Naturally, there will be hiccups one day, but we have overcome them. And by God's grace, we will have a very, very successful and peaceful National Convention.
At the meeting held behind closed doors, President Muhammadu Buhari appreciated the governors for keeping faith with a noble and patriotic cause for national salvation by the governing APC. He stressed the need for the new leadership of the party to be chosen unanimously and rancor-free, inconsistent with the party's constitution and spirit of democracy.
Mr. President appreciated the briefing and stated his gratitude for the work the governors have been doing in support of the party and preparation for the National Convention.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari, who granted audience to the governor of Ebonyi State, Dave Umahi, agreed in principle to visit Abakaliki next month for the inauguration of several legacy projects executed by the state government.
And I'm sure you'll be part of that visit to see what God has done with us in this 6 years plus. I love Mr. President, and I will carry out whatever instructions he gives to the letter, because he's a man that is very fair, and is a man that has the interests of this country at heart.
Governor Dave Umahi used the opportunity to appreciate President Buhari for his leadership, describing him as a God sent to Nigeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
In the meantime, security arrangements have been reinforced ahead of APC convention in Abuja. Hafiz Urugo was at the Eagle Square earlier today to monitor the preparations, where he also ran into a coalition of security personnel working together for the safe conduct of the convention.
Maybe I should do a public elections for all delegates that are coming to this convention. Abuja weather at this time of the year is very, very hot. So obviously all the delegates that are coming should have to look very sportive. But then at the Eagle Square, everything is going on fine. We can see activities going on. But peculiarly in the security. Security is key in every matter. I have seen avalanche of security personnel moving around, ensuring that there is security now, security tomorrow, and security at the time when the convention is going, and security at the time when the people are mobilizing back to their own locality. And in fact, I had the luck to meet with the DIG in charge of the security for the convention, DIG Balasenti. Hello, sir. I don't know how to salute very well, but welcome. Obviously, sir.
That's all right.
Obviously. So I can see you at the convention with your men.
Yes.
And I see the body of the DIGs, the personnel that all here. This thing must really have engaged your mind.
Yes.
Okay.
As you have stated, we are all here because of the importance that attached to this convention. It is something that we all have something at stake, both security and the politicians, whether you belong to APC or not. What affects one affects the other. And that is why you find out that we have come around here to strategize on how our deployment is going to be.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rugo. Now, aspirants seeking for elective positions into the APC National Working Committee ahead of the March 26th, 2022 National Convention are undergoing screening 3 days to the exercise. Some party members jostling for the national chairmanship position have concluded the exercise and shared their experiences with newsmen after the screening, which took place behind closed doors.
That's main question political realities of time. So these are issues that affect many of the political parties, even the big ones.
I am sure every supporter of APC, every member of APC is quite happy with what is going on now. This has shown to us that 26 March is sacrosanct, and we believe that the best and qualitative leadership will come out of 26 March.
If we want real leaders to emerge, who would have control over the affairs of the party, who would have the respect of followers of the party, the followers and members of the party should be given the opportunity to choose their leaders.
Governor Aminu Bello Masari is leading the APC National Convention Subcommittee on Screening. In another story, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has formally declared his intention to run for the presidential election come 2023 on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Timothy Yusuf reports.
To announce my candidacy for the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under the platform of the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria.
This formal declaration of intention to again seek the presidential ticket of the PDP in the forthcoming 2023 general elections by Atiku Abubakar marks the fourth time of his contesting for the highest position in the land. And he believes that victory is possible this time around.
We must stand firm, get our PVCs, come out en masse, cast our votes, and protect the vote.
Former Vice President Namadi Sambo and the Governor of Adamawa State, Amadu Fintiri, were unanimous in their convictions that Atiku Abubakar is well prepared and ready to move the country to higher heights.
Atiku Abubakar, as the Vice President from 1999 to 2007, put the foundation of the development of his administration that led to all successes of that administration. That can position our great party for a success
Other speakers enjoined Nigerians to rally around the aspiration of Atiku Abubakar to secure the presidential ticket of the PDP and ultimately win the election as Nigeria's next president. Timothy Yusuf, NT News.
Meanwhile, a meeting of governors elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has ended in Abuja State. In a communique, the forum expresses concern over the state of the nation. It also reviewed the social, economic, and political sectors of Nigeria. The governors raised concerns on the rising cost of living and insecurity, among other challenges confronting the nation. The forum, however, noted the approval by the PDP National Executive Committee on the timetable and timelines for congresses and convention of the party and urged that the party leadership and members to remain focused and united. In attendance were 13 members of the forum, including the chairman and governor of Sokoto State, Waziri Tambol. And the federal government has launched an onslaught of crude oil vandals and saboteurs. Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Temipre Silva, says the criminals involved in crude oil theft have their days numbered. Temipre handed the warning in Port Harcourt as he took the fight to the illegal refineries of crude oil vandals. Lydia Samson reports that the proactive United Front, including the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Temipre Silva, Chief of Defence Staff, General Lucky Rabo, the CEO, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Melekari, and the CEO, Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Benga Komolafe, personally visited the communities notorious for crude oil theft. The key players who are working on the directive of President Muhammadu Buhari to stem the tide and put an end to crude oil theft vowed to work together assiduously in the operation they tagged Delta Safe. 9. If you say Nigeria's power sector is at a stage of emergency going by the current power outages nationwide, you might not be wrong. Now, all industry players are on board to address the challenges, and the intervention by President Muhammadu Buhari seems to have come with a glimmer of hope. Joshua Ojito reports on measures taken so far to turn things around for the better.
It all started in October 2021 when the national grid lost more than 1,000 megawatts of electricity due to vandalism, shortage of gas to power, scheduled and unscheduled maintenance of major power plants, as well as water level drop in hydro dams. The challenges subsist even in the new year 2022 as generation continues to drop with multiple grid collapses.
We have the problem of poor liquidity, the problem of lack of access to forex window to be able to do the normal maintenance. 3, our maintenance has increased.
We are dealing with a single buyer model, which is common to Africa, is common to Asia, and is common to Eastern Europe. And the danger in a single buyer model is that it's only one buyer that you have. And for us in Nigeria, the single buyer here is NBET. Once NBET is not able to buy the power from the generating companies, then there's a problem. Unfortunately, we have not allowed the generating companies to sign bilateral agreements with other buyers, which would have been another source of income for them.
While key players in the value chain trade blames over the current poor power supply, the Power Minister, Abubakar Aliyu, says all industry players must act in the context of state of emergency to restore supply across the country. The President also weighed in with a clear-cut directive to the Power Minister to address the challenges and improve electricity supply. So far, federal government says the interventions are yielding results as some plants have resumed power generation, while a special gas pricing emergency contract has been approved for power plants owned by the Niger Delta Power Holding Company to wrap up generation. The Nigerian Bulk Electricity Trading PLC has also been directed to fast-track negotiation on interim energy sales agreement with a view to bringing the new Opai 2 power plant connected to the grid.
We will not relent. We will continue to do all things necessary to ensure that we keep giving Nigerians electricity.
Though still work in progress, the intervention of President Muhammadu Buhari, electricity consumers are hopeful will address the current power outages being experienced in the country. Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
It seems like a dream come true, which many thought would be difficult to come true actually. But today, the determination, doggedness and commitment of the federal government has put skeptics to shame as the second Niger Bridge nears completion and scheduled for inauguration come October this year. Omar Basse Edit takes us through the journey so far.
The first Niger Bridge is synonymous with heavy human and vehicular traffic, a situation which has thrown commuters and motorists into untold hardship as they sometimes waste several man-hours transiting the bridge. Built 57 years ago, the bridge has served as a link between the south and other parts of the country, while also serving as a corridor of trade into Niger, a commercial hub which hosts the largest market in West Africa. 2014 witnessed the groundbreaking on what is now known as the second Niger Bridge, with the aim of decongesting traffic and boosting socio-economic development within the region. The bridge, which is 11.9 kilometers in total measurement, includes the construction of 1.6 kilometers long bridge, 10.3 kilometer highway, Owerri interchange, and a toll station. Lack of funding crippled the progress of work at the project site for some years, but determined to keep to its promise, the Buhari-led administration through the Federal Ministry of Works mobilized men and equipment to site, signaling the recommencement of work. Beyond the long-term benefit, the project has provided thousands of employment opportunities for the people in the neighboring communities.
Even as we have, the employment generated from this on this project locally over 1,005 when we are at the peak of this project. And when we look at indirect, indirect employment, let's say from the local vendors, suppliers, haulage contractors and some other contractors, is enormous.
Nigerians within the Southeast region are already counting their blessings ahead of the inauguration of the project.
I'm happy about it. At least it's going to ease a lot of pain on the area of aquaneous traffic. The essence of coming to Onitsha market via Asaba will become a thing of joy.
It's going to be a good news if they keep to their words and they see that the bridge is completed 100% before the announcement. I'm so glad.
This signature project of the President's administration could indeed be described as a promise kept. In Onitsha, Umar Basadit, NTA News.
Thank you so much, Omar. That was from the Onitsha end of the bridge. Now, from the Asaba end, Austin Edemodo tells us that in the past 7 years, the federal government has committed funds and human resources towards the actualization of the second Niger Bridge, with the project almost completed. He chronicles the progress of work and its strategic importance to the nation.
The Niger Bridge from time has been the gateway to the southern part of Nigeria, with its attendant socio-economic benefits to the entire country. When the first Niger Bridge became a victim of the civil war, government, knowing how strategic this critical infrastructure is, quickly ensured that the current bridge was put in place. 57 years later, the existing Niger Bridge has been overburdened by human and vehicular traffic, which puts the infrastructure at critical risk. In 1978, the idea of a second Niger Bridge was conceived, but no practical step was taken until 2015, when the groundbreaking was carried out. With preliminary construction work lasting till 2015, the project was further resuscitated in 2017 under the public-private partnership.
an administration to come up and put up another such structure there after 57 years of repeated promises. We will do it. This administration will come and promise is going to do it. Another administration will come, say, oh, they've drawn up the bill of quantity and all that. But he never saw the light of day. And the present administration of His Excellency Mohamed Buhari has brought it to bear, has put it on ground. I mean, that is spectacular.
The job is moving. The job, everybody is happy. So if you say it's not moving, it means you haven't got to the destination. If you go there, you will be happy the way I am.
The iconic project has been given all the required financial backing as evidenced in the progress of work on the 1.6 kilometers main bridge, which is almost at 93% completion stage.
In construction, there are things that you expect will happen on week 1 that may happen in week 2. So all of these are things that I know that you are anxious to drive on the bridge, but we are at a point now for the second time I can walk on the bridge, but for the first time we are going to walk across the two ends.
Besides that, the 10.6 kilometers approach roads from the Delta and Anambra states axis have witnessed remarkable progress. On the Asaba end, the toll gates are almost completed. At the Obosi interchange, the intensity of work further confirms the determination of the federal government to open the second Niger Bridge to public use in October 2022.
Responsibility of the Presidential Infrastructural Development Fund to make, in conjunction with the NSIA and others, to make the funds available to finish this road. It will enhance the economic activities and development of this area. That's the priority.
Already, government says it has committed over 400 billion naira into this critical infrastructure, which will not only boost commerce and industry in the southern region, will also strengthen the peaceful and mutual cooperation amongst Nigerians. I'm Austin Edemodu, NTA News.
Let's head to Lagos now, where the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing has ordered all illegal occupants living and conducting businesses on the bridges in Lagos State to vacate the spaces within 7 days. This is a fallout of the fire incident at Abuja Bridge in Lagos Wednesday morning. Adeni Taiwo reports that interagency operation by emergency responders is still ongoing to put out the fire.
The plume of smoke that enveloped the skyline of Lagos Island earlier on Wednesday may have disappeared to a large extent thanks to the effort of emergency responders, but the battle to finally put out the fire is still on. It is a tough day for residents of Lagos State who are either caught up in gridlock or who, like me, have to walk on odd surface of the bridge to cross from the mainland to the island.
It's been pretty difficult for me to stand still to do this pitch to camp because of the intensity of the heat seeping through from under the bridge to the sole of my feet. And that's to tell you how huge the fire that was recorded here. Since the first distress call went out around past 3 in the morning, man and machineries from across emergency responding agencies have been moved to this place to quench the fire. Despite several efforts, well, one can see smoke billowing out while men are still working.
During an inspection visit to the scene of the fire, Director of Highway, Bridges and Design, Engineer Oloropo Oyetade says the Akpombo end of the bridge will remain closed while integrity test is carried out to determine its fate.
It has to be closed. For how long, we can't say now. But definitely it has to be closed because we cannot endanger the motoring public.
We can't do any palliative here. It's going to be a total lockdown. So the pressure will be on the alternative routes, and we are going to divert our resources, and we are going to fortify the area. But without the cooperation of the motoring public, we won't make any headway.
We'll be working with all other stakeholders to carry out holistic investigations and evacuations of all the containers in here.
In the meantime, affected traders are taking advantage of the fire being subdued to salvage what they could from the ruins. In Lagos, Adeni Taiwo, NTA News.
Thank you, Adini. Now let's take some time out at this point, but you just have to stay tuned because the stories coming ahead are ones you wouldn't want to miss. If I may ask, do you think you've heard the last of the Electoral Act and the court actions around it? Find out the latest interesting steps taken on it by the National Assembly when News Extra returns in just a moment. Great to have you back on News Extra. Senate is to appeal the ruling of the Federal High Court Umuahia, which nullified Section 84, subsection 12 of the newly amended Electoral Act. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo reports.
Last week, the Federal High Court sitting in Umuahia nullified Section 84, subsection 12 of the newly amended Electoral Act, describing it as a violation of the provisions of the Constitution, a ruling that the Senate disagrees with. The motion, sponsored by Senator George Thompson Sekibo and 80 other senators, explained that the judgment of the court was not correct in its interpretation of Section 318 of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
Letting the judgment to go without concern will become a precedent on which any person could go to the court and obtain judgment to ridicule the good intentions of the National Assembly.
Accordingly, the Senate resolves to appeal the judgment in suit marked FHC UMC CS 26/2022 for the court to set aside the judgment.
Those in favor of the prayer as amended, say aye. Aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.
Senate has confirmed 7 nominees for appointment as members of the Monetary Policy Committee in the Central Bank of Nigeria as it passed the Public Interest Disclosure and Complaints Enactment Bill.
We repeal the Public Complaints Commission Act 2004 and reenact the Public Complaints Commission Act 2022 with expanded mandate to handle the public interest disclosures, otherwise known as whistleblower.
A very, very important piece of legislation that will enable the fight against corruption.
The National Inspector General for Tax Crimes Commission Establishment Bill, which seeks to check revenue leakages arising from tax evasion and other irregularities, sponsored by Senator Oji Uzo Kalu, and the Nigerian Economic Diversification Bill, sponsored by Senator Sabi Abdullahi and opposed by Senator Chimaroke Nnamani, were passed for second reading.
To ensure that the laws related to tax crimes are effective in practice by providing a coherent strategy for enforcing the law.
To address revenue leakages emanating from non-payment and underpayment of taxes, irregularities in the assessment, reporting, and remittances of taxes. The current coronavirus pandemic, combined with mounting debt obligations and declining GDP, gives new urgency to this issue.
This bill is yet another attempt to put a drain on national resources and the taxpayer. I hereby oppose vigorously.
Senate began the consideration of a bill that seeks to repeal and re-enact the Finance Management and Control Act. That bill was one of the 5 that were passed for first reading. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Onkwo, NTN News.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has been reacting to the judgment of the Federal High Court Umuahia on the provision of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act 2022, passed a resolution to petition the National Judicial Council. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that House members, while debating the matter during plenary, described the judgment as an encroachment and usurpation of powers of the legislature.
The judgments, now a subject of controversy, elicited comments from House members who argued that ordering the Attorney General and Minister of Justice to delete a section of the Electoral Act is contrary to the doctrine of separation of power as enshrined in the Constitution.
Members of this institution must rise against this aberration. We are not only lawmakers, we must be custodians of laws, and laws must have to be obeyed in this country.
With regard to the principles of natural justice, fair hearing, I would be altering pattern.
Somebody is trying to do our job I had expected that whatever that the judiciary would do is to interpret, and in the course of interpretation, can still refer back to the National Assembly to say, please, do this.
Court cannot interpret what the legislators do not intend.
The case was taken to court, not minding that there was a mischief that the National Assembly sought to cure. I cannot sit here and allow the institution which I, at this present time, head and lead, to be ridiculed.
The House resolves to file an application to be joined in the suit and appeal the judgments. It also asks the Attorney General to stay action on the judgments until the matter is settled. The motion from Sergius Ogun calling for investigation of the various processing and administrative fees by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, and its agents on candidates was adopted.
JAMB is an examination conducting body and not primarily a revenue generating organ of the federal government.
Also adopted was the motion from Linda Ekpazu on the need to investigate inhuman treatment meted on Nigerians in Indonesia and the appeal from Moraina Ajibola, urging authorities to provide electricity in parts of Oyo State.
The recently reported death of late Arinze Igweike on March 14, 2022, a bright and promising native of Onitsha, who was allegedly arrested in Jakarta by Indonesian immigration police for unidentified offenses and eventually died in police custody.
Construct 33/11 kVA injection substation at Igora, the Barakpa Central Local Government, and 33/11 kVA injection substation at Igangan.
Plenary featured the second reading of 5 bills, including the bill seeking establishment of Niger Delta Institute of Technology and Skills Acquisition, Berry, River State, sponsored by Dumnamine Deco, and the bill to establish National Center for Furniture Manufacture in Ife's House of Osun State, sponsored by Taufika Bimbola. 11 bills passed first reading, 2 of which seek amendments to the ICPC and NDLEA Acts. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Nigeria must multiply its investment to meet the Sustainable Development Targets in water, sanitation and hygiene. Water Resources Minister Suleiman Adamu was speaking in Dakar at a high-level panel on innovative financing for water security, where he's represented an African Ministers' Council on Water. Musbaut Wahab has that.
It's a global shared learning session, for instance, of a Latin American development bank. And the common concern is finding a cause for an innovative financing for water security.
We haven't done enough, I think, to really put water, front and center on the climate agenda and really recognize that as these financing options are opening up, we need to channel them into the water sector.
Working with microfinance.
The double-capped Nigeria's Water Resources Minister says securing improved funding for the sector is top agenda for the African Ministers' Council on Water, and that too is a priority for Nigeria.
Public sector, that is the states and the federal government and the local government, will be able to spend about 1.3% of GDP, while households and maybe private sector will take up the rest of the 1.2%. And the 1.3% for public sector translates to about $5.2 billion annually.
Nigeria's government has demonstrated political will through the state of emergency declared on the sector in partnership with the private bodies and multilateral agencies. But Suleiman Adamu says the country needs to strengthen its regulatory framework through the Water Resources Bill before the National Assembly also intended to set up the WASH Fund.
Operationalize the fund such that the state governments can also leverage on this fund to get additional funding to invest in water, sanitation, and hygiene.
And so for other African countries to expand the net for financing of the WASH sector, this panel agreed that being creative is the watchword. In Dakar, Musbal and Wahab, NC News.
Oh, thank you, Musbal. Now, what does weather forecast mean to you? Are we really paying attention to the changes in our weather and our environment? Well, these are the questions climate predictors and weather forecasters are asking as the world marks World Meteorological Day. Musa Ali, it's all over to you. Let's hear you.
The weather is becoming unpredictable, while the temperature and humidity is rising daily. More worrisome to farmers is the reduction in the days and amount of rain that fall every season. Just like these farmers in Kura, Kano State. They relied on groundwater for dry season farming. The flow of the water has been decreasing over the years, he says. The changes in weather is not only here in Nigeria, but across the globe. And that's why weather predictors are of the view that being prepared and able to act at the right time in the right place can save community from major challenges associated with weather.
Globally, 1 person in 3 is currently not covered by early warning systems. 6 in 10 people in Africa are not yet protected. And this is unacceptable.
This year's World Meteorological Day, therefore, has a theme, early warning and early action, and spotlights the vital importance of hydrological and climate information for disaster risk reduction.
Greater coordination between national meteorological and hydrological services, disaster management authorities, and development agencies are fundamental to enhance prevention, preparedness, and response.
Was this to emphasize the critical role of issuing warning forecasts early enough to prompt action and by various stakeholders.
The emphasis here is that weather forecasts and weather-related information are critical to social and economic development of any society, and therefore they should not be neglected. Musa Ali, NTA News.
If the focal point of taking a vacation is relaxation, visiting beautiful places and wonderful people, then Nigeria has places that offer these and much more. Abdullahi Mohammed was at Kafancham Matsirga Falls in Kaduna State, where he presents the hidden wonders.
The colonial masters were here. The rail tracks and its wagons met a thriving kingdom blessed with a product craved across the world, ginger. A top cultivation, Jamaica Emirates stands out for. It's still a produce that keeps the city on the global map. Here is where the best ginger is cultivated and transits to the farthest parts of the world. But another unmovable blessing keeps bringing people back to Kafanchan, especially during festivities, the Matsarga waterfalls. A beauty to behold with its secret wonders, keeping curious visitors spellbound. Its source of water a mystery, the inhabitants say, but none mysterious is the weather-responsive pool of water and fall with seamless techniques. Just like its multiple tributaries, so it falls. And these amazing coves of nature attract many of the young with cycles of refreshing licks, crunchy chews, horse rides, and selfies for keeps. On the sidelines, rocks to suntan and open trekking fields. The experience better explained by those who kept a date with the wonderful waterfall.
I really enjoy myself. Seeing the water, the way it's falling, is so beautiful. And it's actually my first time here, so I decided to come have some fun with my daughter.
My flex, because my face show my shoe shine.
The routine at the waterfall in Kafanchang is that the crowd disappears after a festivity and the lull sets in there. But a deliberate move to keep the place busy will be a source of revenue and engaging tens of thousands of youths across the area. From Matsarga Waterfall in Kafanchan, Kaduna State, Abdullahi Mohammed, NTA News.
Well, Abdullah, like what the Fansika said, my face show, my shoe shine. I love that place. It's beautiful. Nigeria is great, I must say. Now, we shall bring you a pleasant development around ECOWAS pharmaceuticals, just as the consumption of herbal mixtures and the dangers that are inherent get attention in our next segment. Hang in there for these and more right after we return from this break we are about to take. Join us again. Thanks for staying. The All Progressives Congress Pre-Convention Conference holds on Friday, March 25th, 2022 at the Sheikh Musa Adwa Center, Abuja by 9 a.m. The conference with the theme Consolidating Democratic Change, Scorecard, Impact and the Road Ahead shall have in attendance leaders of the APC, party faithful and the media. Chairman Professor Babagana Umar Zulum, Governor Borno State, and co-chair Dr. Kayode Fayemi, Governor Ekiti State. And Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Hussein Brahim Taha, has held talks with delegates from some member nations of the OIC on the sidelines of the organization's 48th Conference of Foreign Ministers in Islamabad, Pakistan. Mahmoud Mohammed reports that discussions at the meeting centered on laying foundations for higher productivity and growth in member nations.
It is on the sidelines of the Foreign Ministers' Conference. They are foreign ministers, development partners, and heads of delegation from member countries. Their mission is to facilitate capacity building in key sectors of their country's economy through regional integration and intra-OIC collaborations. OIC Secretary General Hussein Brahim Taha says, partnerships are key enablers of socio-economic development, hence the need for member nations to take advantage of OIC's partnership with the Islamic Development Bank to invest in human capital development and social infrastructure.
Member states are really engaged in a number of discussions on a number of issues on the agenda of the OIC. OIC is not a religious organization. This is a political organization, intergovernmental organizations with a heavy agenda that deals with political issues, economic issues, cultural issues, social issues, issues related to science and technology, promotion of inter-trade between member states. So we have a lot of opportunities, and OIC is ready to play its role in this regard.
As challenges continue to evolve globally, the OIC is committed to responding to evolving developmental needs of member nations. From Islamabad, Pakistan, Mahmoud Mohammed, NTA News.
And thank you, Mahmoud. Now it's time for us to join Benny Adams for business news. Benny, take it away.
Thank you, Fatima. I'll start by telling you that energy experts have begun counting the gains of the just inaugurated petrochemical plant, whose fertilizer capacity is pegged at 3 million metric tons per annum, with oil refining capacity of more than 650,000 barrels per day.
We have always said, from natural gas, you will get ammonia. From ammonia, you will get urea. From urea, you will get fertilizer. That has crystallized today. And the same gas can be used to drive gas turbines to generate electricity. And once you can even generate electricity, you will not be bothered about generators. You will not be bothered about subsidy. But we are very happy with the initiative of Dangote. We are proud about it, but we need more Dangotes in food processing. We need more Dangotes in automobile. We need more Dangotes in health. And we need more Dangotes in so many areas. Because what that will do, first of all, is it will make Nigeria to stop importation. And once we stop importation, we will conserve foreign exchange.
The executive chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, Mohamed Nami, says revenue mobilization of Nigeria and Niger Republic can be improved if the revenue authorities of both countries work together to deepen their relationship, share tax information, and engage in mutual administrative assistance. This is coming on the heels of the visit to FIRS in Abuja by a delegation of Niger Tax Authority, led by its leader, Osman Mohamed. Nami noted that it was important for the FIRS to work with the Niger Tax Authority in the areas of sharing tax information in the face of increase in trans-border tax within the context of ECOWAS and the AFCFTA, and given the presence of high net worth Nigerian individuals and companies trading in Niger. The delegation on its side is seeking a relationship that would cover cross-border trade, oil and gas, telecommunications, and the digitization of the tax procedures. And to the markets, midweek trade on Nigerian equities market closed on a positive note as the all-share index advanced by 0.02% to close the market with 47,163.94 basis points. Market capitalization rose to 25.418 trillion naira as investors in Nigeria also weigh the situation in Ukraine. 267 equities exchanged hands in 4,099 deals, valued at 3.215 billion naira. The financial services sector led transaction in volume and value, as Fidelity Bank led with 68.8 million, Access 38.6 million, and UBA with 30.9 million volume of shares. That is business news. Fatih, well, you can continue with the extra touch.
Thank you so much, Benny. Now, the quest for Nigeria to become a major exporter of non-oil commodities is gaining more traction as the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, is taking the lead, and rightly too, in establishing Nigerian trade houses in African countries. In line with this, the council has established a Nigerian trade house in Cairo, Egypt, to enhance access to Nigerian produce and products. Details with Comfort Amodu.
Trade exchange between Egypt and Nigeria continues to witness remarkable growth, as trade figures in the first quarter of 2021, according to the Bureau of Statistics, grew to 11.7 trillion naira, while export trade is put at 5.7 trillion naira, with import trade pegged at 5.9 trillion naira. To sustain the gains of the trade volume between the two countries, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council established Nigerian's Trade House in the Samad industrial area in Cairo, where commodities such as sesame seeds, ginger and groundnut will be processed and distributed to countries in the North African region and beyond. The Executive Director of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Dr. Ezra Yakusak, explains that the initiative is targeted at increasing Nigerians' foreign exchange earnings and creating jobs while serving as a major source of income for exporters.
Once the goods are here and they're in good shape and they are up to the standard required internationally, people come in here from Egypt and neighboring countries and pick up those goods and pay, of course, money will be repatriated back to Nigeria.
The Egyptian community is promising better times for the Nigerian exporters, especially in the areas of processing and packaging.
This is the after product of sectioning. When you have processed with cleaning with water, because it is 100% clean, Europe is buying to put inside biscuits.
The NEPC is also collaborating with the private sector to promote made in Nigerian goods and services in regional and international markets, with additional trade houses established across Johannesburg, Nairobi, Hunan in China, Saudi Arabia and Lomé, Togo, to drive Nigerians' non-oil export with takeoff of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Comfort Amadou, NT News.
In the meantime, the African Development Bank has signed a protocol of agreement worth $3.56 million with the ECOWAS Commission to support the development of the pharmaceutical industry in the region. Director General of the AFDB, Lamin Barrow, says the bank has ramped up support to the ECOWAS while being responsive to emerging priority needs like the coronavirus pandemic of member countries. Leah Katumba reports that ECOWAS will contribute $600,000 to complement the effort.
The coronavirus pandemic, which took the world by surprise in the year 2020, revealed the death in pharmaceutical infrastructure on the continent, where Africa had to rely on other continents for her safety supplies as well as vaccines. Now, 2 years down the line, the African Development Bank, AFDB, is championing a revolution to ensure that Africa is self-sufficient in pharmaceutical contents. Signed, sealed, and delivered. $3.56 million is the value in this protocol agreement that was signed between the African Development Bank and the ECOWAS to enable the sub-region meet her needs in terms of health. The AFDB, while noting the urgency of accelerating efforts to ensure a minimum field of supply of health products last year, announced it would mobilize $3 million to support the development of Africa's health infrastructure defense system, including pharmaceuticals.
African governments are now looking to develop their pharmaceutical industries to ensure security of supply and enhance affordability, in addition to easing the pressure on the balance of payments and creating jobs and value addition.
The AFDB affirms its support subscribes to the vision to develop local production capacities and increase the market share of African pharmaceutical production value to between 45 and 55% by the year 2030.
This long-standing cooperation has already focused on support for industrial development, particularly within the framework of the strategy of the automotive industry and pharmaceutical industry, which is the subject of the signing of this agreement today.
This agreement also seeks to support the implementation of regulations to allow duty-free access to pharmaceutical raw materials, packaging, and finished products under the ECOWAS Common External Tariff (CET), as well as development of an effective regional pharmaceutical regulatory ecosystem. In Abuja, Leah Katungbaba-Tunde, NTA News.
And with validation of reports on research development in solid mineral sector by collaborative institutions, the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development says Nigeria will soon experience investment boost that will transform the sector for industrial development. Kenneth Nanim has that.
Because I kept saying the federal government in 2018, through the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development, released over 140 million naira intervention funds for research development in the sector. 14 tertiary institutions across the country that met the criteria were qualified, and they benefited in the Research Project Development Initiative. Within the 4 years of this eventful collaboration, the task of developing a reliable geoscience data bank that will ease geographical mapping, research and documentation of mining relics in the sector may not have been an easy one, as they were also expected to study exploration and utilization of selected mineral deposits, development of global energy requirements, amongst other areas of concern. At this point of validation of reports, hopes are therefore high that efforts by the academia will chart a new roadmap that will lead the ministry out of the woods and reposition it for industrialization through investment.
You will agree with me that without data, there can be no serious mining activity. Nigeria lacks adequate bankable geosciences data needed to attract major mining companies to invest in the sector. The ministry therefore has made data generation, retrieval, and storage a priority and will continue to invest eagerly in this area. All these projects and data now belongs to the ministry, belongs to the industry. Industrialists can now come. Investors can now come. Stakeholders can now come. In fact, the ministry is going to package them in a way the industry will make use of it.
The stakeholders also expressed the hope that when the harmonized reports become operational, they will fast-track the involvement of the private sector in the solid mineral industry in the country. Kenneth Nami, NTA News.
A report just reaching us says President Muhammadu Buhari this evening, Wednesday, hosted to a dinner the national chairmanship aspirants of the governing APC. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports that the engagement was in furtherance of genuine efforts to ensure a rancor-free and successful national convention of the party coming up Saturday. All those aspiring for the national chairmanship position attended the meeting. The chairman, caretaker and extraordinary convention planning committee of the APC and governor of Yobe State, Memala Buni, chief of staff to the president, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, and secretary to the government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, were also in attendance. Details of the interactive engagement held behind closed doors were not disclosed. It will be recalled that President Buhari had earlier granted audience to members of the Progressive Governors Forum, where issues relating to the APC National Convention were discussed. Provision of transportation for pupils in public schools to be or not to be, especially at this time of biting fuel scarcity. I know where I stand on this. What about you? We take another breather, after which we bring you this and some trending stories around security. Do stay. Welcome back. Yobe State is on the path of becoming a reference point among its peers in the country in implementing the Tangaya system of education. This followed ongoing reforms and investments to make the system vibrant in line with the modern educational trends. This is the submission of the stakeholders at a 3-day engagement held in Damaturu, the Yobe State capital. Yunusa Suleiman reports.
By the Yobe State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education reveals that the state has a total of 3,838 Sangaya schools with more than 189,000 almajiri across the 17 council areas of the state. The locations of each school, student and instructor have been profiled and documented by the ministry for strategic planning, support and necessary interventions. This prompted the State Steering Committee on Sangaya Education Reform, in collaboration with UNICEF, to engage the Sangaya schools teachers and other relevant stakeholders on critical areas with a view to coming up with the desirable reforms to the system. With a theme, Sangaya Education and Contemporary Challenges, the stakeholders cross-fertilized ideas in the quest for practicable and workable solutions that will lead to the resuscitation of the system by the integration of entrepreneurship for self-reliance.
Nigeria will never achieve its developmental goals, know its SDG goals, without, solving the question of the Almajiri system of education.
The Yobe State government has turned its attention towards supporting the system and, in fact, encouraging the development and improvement of the entire system.
The present administration of Yobe State has maintained its commitment and zeal to reform education in all its ramifications for our students to be well informed and mentally equipped to face the ever-growing challenges of development.
It is expected that recommendations generated from the participants will serve as a working document in repositioning the system in the state. In Damaturu, Yunusa Suleiman, NTA News.
Let's head to Lagos now. As part of continued efforts to improve civil-military cooperation, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, has inaugurated solar and electric-powered and treated boreholes, including street lights in Isala Eko, to garner needed support in combating insecurity within the Lagos metropolis. And Len Leneke has that.
The Nigerian Army is leveraging on successes recorded in various theatres of operations to consolidate more achievements for national development. They include protection of the nation's territorial integrity, inclusion of local content, improved civil-military relations, and prioritization of personnel welfare.
In the global index of the global terrorism, the Nigeria and the armed forces have achieved a lot and is well applauded and recognized by the international global index of terrorism. In other aspects of banditry and kidnapping also we are recording successes, both in the northwest and in the northeast and north central, and indeed across all theaters. Even in the southeast where we are confronting secessionists, we are achieving a lot of results.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, pointed out that in recent times, the Nigerian Army has provided succor to less privileged communities across the country through projects that address structural deficits.
This type is a project that has been ongoing in the Army, where we identify areas where we have very senior officers who have, through dint of hard work, commitment, dedication, and loyalty, have risen to the enviable rank of major generals, and they are asked to identify such projects in their communities to undertake.
The Army Chief also paid homage to the Oba of Lagos and pledged the Army's resolve to deepen civil-military relations within Lagos Island, its environs, and generally across the states. Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya appreciated the coexisting synergy with traditional rulers, which has assisted the Army in combating insecurity across the country. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
So far, so good. We take our final break for the night and then we bring you our sports package right after that. Let's talk sports. All is set for the Nigeria-Ghana-Qatar 2022 playoffs. Kene Ima Abudike in the special report captures the mood of both camps ahead of the double-header.
The die is cast as old football rivalry is set to be rekindled when Nigeria Super Eagles and Black Stars of Ghana face off in a two-leg fixture for one of Africa's 5 slots at Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup, first in Kumasi on Friday, March 25, and then in Abuja on Tuesday, March 29. Preparations on both sides have been in top gear for a while now, and as usual, both teams have been talking tough.
This is not a league. We all know this is the only result we need to be at Qatar. So we're working hard. The boys are fit. They are sharp. We are ready. We'll play Ghana with a lot of respect, but we want to try to finish up the game there.
The players, the technical team, and the Ghana Football Association are committed to this task. We really want to make ourselves and the nation proud by qualifying for this upcoming World Cup.
While both nations will relish the prospect of outdoing the other for a World Cup berth, claiming bragging rights in this regional derby represents one of the narratives heading into this doubleheader.
We know the importance of the game is just going to the pitch and win, because we want to be in the World Cup like them, but we know it's going to be fight. So at the end of 95 minutes, inshallah, we're going to take the day.
We need to bounce back is just to win this qualifying match, the last game, to qualify to the World Cup, because it's every Nigerian dream to see their country participating in the World Cup. So I think the only bounce back we need is to just win and make our country proud.
We always think about the team and we want to do our best. Indeed it's missed in the game, but we are going to take the chance and win the game.
Ghana cannot stand Nigeria by all means. I think we'll fight our best out to make sure that we get the qualifiers out.
It doesn't matter the opposition or where the games take place. What matters is the readiness of the team. With pride and passion, I strongly believe that we are more than capable to win this battle.
For head-to-head, Nigeria and Ghana have met at the senior level for 49 times in 71 games, with Ghana winning 21 games, while Nigeria have won 10 games, and both sides have drawn 18 games. This doubleheader is surely a clash of the titans, and the better side will be one of Africa's 5 teams to feature at the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup. In Abuja, I am Kenan Ima Abudike, NTA News.
Well, we wish our own Super Eagles all the best. Now, the death has occurred of Madam Joyce Tabitha Yofa at the age of 80, a one-time public relations officer of the National Council for Women's Societies, Benue State Chapter, between 1990 and 1992. Late Madam Tabitha Yofa Agba was also an active political mobilizer and businesswoman. She is survived by many children and grandchildren. Amongst her children is John Atedze of the Nigerian Customs Service. She will be buried on the 2nd of April 2022 in Vandeke local government area of Benue State by 8 o'clock in the morning. And with that, we conclude News Extra for tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of it. But before we go, here's a reminder that you should remember to connect with the NTA and stand against rape and rapists. I am Fatima Umar Buba. Enjoy the rest of your night and please stay safe.